Hello my good students, welcome back to our War on the Sea Let's Play campaign as the Imperial Japanese Navy, and we are focusing today on this massive problem here. We have a huge allied task force coming in to invade Okinawa, and that is rather a problem. So what are we going to do to try and stop that? Well, we've launched out, of course, we have some howitzers out to scout around. We do have a couple submarines just out of position to try and catch that. Unfortunately, it will take them 4.3 hours to get to Okinawa, so they can't intercept that before this task force gets in range to bombard and invade. We do have a very small amount of troops on Okinawa. We've got 1.1 thousand backed up by enough supplies there. We do have some defensive bonuses, but they do have New Orleans in this task force, if it is indeed the one we cited a couple episodes ago. So they will be able to bombard that. It will be a light bombardment, so we won't lose too much there, but it's quite likely going to knock us down a level aircraft or a level of airfield or two. So we'll see about that. What do we actually have on Okinawa then to deal with that? So we have 6 Vals, 3 Suisseis, 3 Toryus and 5 howitzers. I think it's best to launch the Toryus firstly with nothing on them, so they can provide some minor air support, very minor air support, if this carrier does indeed decide to launch out some fighter protection. They'll at least serve as a distraction, and that will be the same. We'll launch out some howitzers as well. Launching those out with no payload will mean that we can launch out more aircraft instantly, which is excellent. So we'll launch those out if we give them a small course over here. Now the next question is, what's going to be our main defense against this? I don't think Vals with bombs will do too much, unfortunately. All of the bombs would have to hit to sink a single ship. But that will be the same, really, same case if we take the kamikaze option, but the kamikaze option is a little more reliable, and with the desperate times that we're in, we're going to have to go for desperate measures. So we are going to send some kamikaze Vals out to try and deal with that. Does mean we have to wait about 20 minutes or so for new aircraft to come out. I will want to try and launch the Suisseis as well. Can we launch anything from Kalen to really help with that might get there in time? We have some Kates. We might want to launch those out with torpedoes. How long is it going to take to get over there though? About 2 hours. Might be a little too slow there, but we can only hope. And we do have the opportunity of launching out some zeros over here. That will be 6 zeros from Sasebo. I think once again going with the kamikaze option there if possible. That will take 1.4 hours to get over there though. I don't think that's going to be quick enough to get anything here, so let's carry on forward and see what we can do with that. But first let's check our situations over here. What were we doing with our invasion supplies? We were pulling out of the Philippines, so that is excellent. Let's move out over here for now. What we're doing with this supply force, we're going all the way back to restock. So I think once these ships do get over to Kure, we're going to have to send them to reinforce and retake Okinawa, and then we're going to move our focus to take Iwo Jima back properly, because this affront to our homeland bases is not acceptable any longer. We cannot let the Americans and the Allies get away with such such horrible feats like this. So what we're also going to do is move supply interceptors all the way back to intercept anything retreating that we don't manage to get out of Okinawa, so we can finish that off on the way out there, which is not so bad at all. What we're doing with these supplies, I think I might as well, rather than keep these sat idle, we're going to keep them moving up towards Kure as well. We'll keep this particular supply force back at Cebu in the Philippines in case we decide to move about our troops any more there, but I think we should be able to take Cebu with the amount of troops and supplies we have on there. Balance of power is in our favour, but we will burn through a fair few troops and supplies doing so. That is the situation there. Nothing else really waiting for us, unfortunately, apart from another submarine over here. We'll try and tackle that, I think. Otherwise, it's going to get very annoying indeed. We'll see about that. We do, of course, have another carrier force over here to worry about, which is something I forgot about. So we're going to get our Guam Defence Task Force over here to try and intercept if possible, but we will have to stay close by with our CVs and be very active in spotting that. We also have Fighting Force 2 over here, which can intercept from the flank. We do now have the addition of Yamaso once again, so we can go up to the rear of that particular task force and try and pincer it in and make sure it doesn't get to either Guam or Saipan, or even Truk if it is deciding to go in that direction. We do have defending troops and such on each of these bases. But the supplies are a little mismatched, so well, that's going to be unfortunate if they do land, but that really shouldn't be the case. We are going to have a good amount of radar coverage over here before they land, so long as they don't get there overnight, we should be absolutely fine. It is this invasion on Okinawa which is the problem. So let's go on forwards and see if we can spot and get some planes on top of this, shall we? Righty, so we have been engaged by enemy aircraft, which has drawn us into the attack on the supply ships. Just trying to spot those. It appears, yep, our Zeros are the ones right on top of there. That's going to be unlucky, but we should be able to get our Zeros onto one of the rear ships immediately. It does appear that their cargo ships are on the central line. Does mean they are supported best by small arms fire. Let's get our Zeros onto the number 3. That appears to be the heaviest ship over here, cargo wise. Let's get all of our Zeros on that just in case we start missing with too many of them. Get them straight in. It's a bit too much time to faff around guessing on their flanks and such, and going around the formation if we're already in their small arms fire. Just a little bit of a waste of time if you ask me. Let's get our Torus round here to support our Suisses and Vals, which we did manage to get in, and we will bring the Vals I think towards the front of the formation actually, just considering that we are coming from the rear with our Zeros. We should be okay to do this in decent time. Let's just bring them up to full speed so they can catch up with that. What exactly did they have over here? Did have an Atlanta, so this is possibly a different task force than what we, well, it's very much a different task force than what we cited previously, which did have a New Orleans to protect its carrier, and I think this might even have more transport ships on it, so a more lethal invasion force in. The Atlanta is absolutely going to be a problem for our aircraft. We're getting into position with our attack aircraft, hopefully with our Habsers on fire at will. We should be able to at least distract the oh, it's Hellcats over here, isn't it? Should be able to distract all the Hellcats in one position over here while we get our attacks off onto these cargo ships. Cargo ships are of course the main targets here. There's only so much a carrier and destroyers and such can get you in an invasion. When it actually comes down to invading, of course it's the troops and supplies which counts. So let's see how we're doing with this attack over here. Expecting to miss and lose some on the approach, but did hit with 3 there. Oh, that's going to be enough to sink that. Are we able to salvage this? Cancel the attack. Form up like so. Just make sure they are formed up and actually increase their altitude very quickly. Is that possible while they're in the dive? Unfortunately not. So they are still going for it. And that cargo ship will be going down there. Look at those explosions. Absolutely beautiful. So we're going to get our Suisses onto the number 2 over here. If we tell those to attack directly so that we don't have to faff on with that later on. And with the Vals, I'm not going to count on the Suisses actually hitting all of their bombs and sinking that single ship. So we are going to keep the Torus in over here and hope that we can strafe that one down afterwards. The number 3 is going down. In fact, the Torus might want to get in first and slow that down if possible, and at least distract some fire. The Vals are going to go for the number 1, the Netherlands cargo ship. Then all of the Vals are going to go for that, once again expecting that not all of our Vals are going to be able to go in and hit. We haven't actually lost any Habsers just yet, but have we destroyed any enemy aircraft? Doesn't appear so. We just lost a Habser there, but again, very secondary worry over here. So how are the Vals going? Might actually want to stop these from attacking and just circle round a tad, see how many hits we do get onto this ship over here. Let's slow down a tad. How are we going? Can't quite click on the valves there. Our Suisse is very nearly in position as well. That's looking very, very wide for a narrow target there. We might have to send in the second group of valves. But just the one hit there, unfortunately. So these valves are going to have to come in and hit that. How were these Suisses looking? Not too bad so far. Let's slow down with the Toryus and come down to a decent altitude there. Oh dear, very, very stressful indeed. We are going to have to come past this Clemson over here very quickly though, unfortunately. Let's strafe this down. Suisses should be okay now. Yeah, looks like the Toryus are distracting the fire away, at least from this Clemson. And with the strafe over here, we should be able to slow that down if we get enough hits on that. So he's going straight for the engine compartments there. Nice little secondary explosion there as well. Let's form back up. Whatever formation line abreast will do here. Let's increase our altitude, just get straight out of there. Our Suisses should have dropped. They have not dropped. Did I not tell them to attack? Am I being stupid again? Oh, I could have sworn I told them to attack. That's very, very frustrating indeed. In that case, we're going to full speed, turn very wide, come back around for that. What do we have over here? It is a transport Clemson. We've lost 2 Toryus from this formation. We're going to keep this Tory in place then. Reduce its altitude to draw more fire. Losing more howitzers. The valves are coming in for their attack though. They're in the dive. It doesn't matter about that, about trying to redo that. It looked like it was taking very, very heavy damage indeed, but 2 more hits will sink that, which is excellent. So we just need to worry about this number 2 now, which we have slightly scuffed an attack on. That's 2 cargo ships down though, which is very, very nice indeed. Let's slow down our speed to help out that turn. And now we will absolutely press attack. And it looks like we've just about running out of howitzers there. They're sending a Hellcat over who's got bored of that dogfight. Yeah, they're coming all the way over here now. Rather unlucky. So we are now diving in with our Suisses. But will it be enough? Will it be enough? Will these hit is the question. Getting in there just before the Hellcats can get a strike on. And that looks pretty damn decent to me. Are we getting any... No, not getting any deck fires just yet, but a fair amount of bomb hits there. Very, very decent indeed. Very, very bloody battle. Let's take a report on that ship. It's the number 2, critical damage and heavy flooding. That should be enough if we wait around there. But we are going to start losing our Suisses on the retreats there. So all we can do now is sit and wait really as our howitzers start to re-engage and distract, because the Hellcats have nothing else to shoot out yet, and we do have some deck fires finally on this ship. Well, there we go. We did manage to finally sink that extra cargo ship, which is absolutely brilliant. The significance of that invasion force is finally whistled down. So also looking at the action reports here, we can see that the Atlanta and a Clemson here have taken some damage themselves. And that suggests that they did, of course, collide with each other in their own panic and frustration. And that might tempt us, if we do catch this task force, to hit the Atlanta. So that's not bad at all. But let's go to the map and see what we can do there, shall we? Because look at this, that is excellent to take down those 3 ships, and it'll be absolutely brilliant. They should retreat now. Let's get going. Well, the question there is, of course, will that be enough? Let's see at Okinawa. We do have the troops and supplies to perhaps hold off the suggested 1,500 troops on those remaining ships. But what we could do, and I think we take a little bit of initiative here, we do have the command points down here to support a pretty substantial transport fleet ourselves. And we do have the troops and supplies to back that up, which is absolutely brilliant. So we're going to go to New Sea. And of course, we are going to build up a new supply force. And we're going to go fairly heavy on this. We're not going to take the hospital ship. We're going to take Kokuryu Maru isn't necessarily bad with 18 knot speed and a lot of possible troops on there. How does the classic Kamogawa is 18 knots? It is more supply focused. The Hakushikamaru is slower. I believe these things come with less AA protection as well. That shouldn't be so much of a problem if you put enough destroyers in with them. So we are going to go for a mix of, I think, Kokuryu Marus for troops. We'll go with, how many troops do we have? About, got 3.4 thousand. So we'll go for just a couple of those for now. If we're going UC, 1, 2 there, and we will go for some supporting Kamogawa Marus. We will need about 3 or 4 of these. That's not a problem at all. We will absolutely go for some escorting destroyers. These are mostly for anti-submarine purposes. So we are going to go for destroyer escorts. Unfortunately, can't go for Momis. There's a very nasty secret about Momis, and that comes in their armament. They have 0 depth charges. That's absolutely stupid. Absolutely useless indeed. And they have 0 sonar. Really terrible. These are generally just for going for transport ships, and I doubt they'd do a bloody good job at that either. So we're going to go for, how many Minakazes do we have left? We'll go for a couple Minakazes, and I think how many Wakatakis do we have? We've used a lot of Wakatakis, so we only have a couple left. For the sake of diversity, let's go for Mutskis, because we haven't actually used any of those yet. That's a bit of a shame. That will fill up that task force for now. This can be very light troop reinforcements. So if we go to manage cargo, we can go to troops, of course, pick up on the Kokuryu Marus, and of course a lot of supplies to reinforce that on the Kamogawa Marus. We are going to pick up a couple more troops on the Minakazes and some supplies to reinforce those on the Mutskis. We're going to move down towards Okinawa to begin with. That is the most pressing mess at the moment. We won't go all the way there just yet. We'll look at the balance of power when the Allies do invade that. And then we'll think whether we can start an invasion on Iwo Jima. Only a couple thousand troops will not be able to take that, I don't think. But we can always see. I don't mind bombarding that. They do only have a level 1 airfield there. We do have the 2 battleships here in the form of 2 Congos, and we do have Musashi about somewhere, be this group over here, denoted by a carrier, because we do have Ryujo there now. Do have 2 battleships there to bombard that if need be. Anyway, so I think all we can do now is see where this transport fleet goes, but we did spot the enemy carrier fleet over here with the transport ships, and that's moved of course more westerly now. That makes me wonder where it's going. Really makes me wonder where it's going. Could it be going for Peleliu? If it is, that's going to be a bother. What we're going to do is we're going to move fighting force 2 over here. That won't really be able to catch up too quickly, although the max speed over here should be a tad quicker than the transport ships over here. And we will move our CVs in a position generally to hit those. That's not so bad at all. We are going to have to ignore the submarine at the minute. Not so much of a pressing matter as another invasion, is it? Submarines, unfortunately, can't carry enough troops to invade a big old base like that. So let's keep going and see what we spot, shall we? Okay, rather an interesting situation here. Our Kates from Keelung have made us over to the task force over here, but it looks like they're retreating, knowing that their invasion power has been diminished significantly. If we watch over here, you can see they are moving away. It's very, very interesting indeed. We do only have 3 Kates over here. I'm not entirely convinced they're going to be able to get in and hit anything over here, but they've made the journey, so we're going to oblige them. So we are going to get on the rear of the force here and get right on top of them. And what we're going to do is do a very naive, it must be said, very naive, very hopeful attack on, I think, the carrier over here. Where is the carrier? Unless it's too deep into their formation. It's protected, of course, by the destroyer over there, the light cruiser. Is there anything? Not really any point in rushing down a Porter, or where's the Atlanta gone? Over here. You can see it does have some damage though, which is very tempting, because it did have that heavy damage. Clearly a collision. Oh, that's very tempting. But like I've just said, it's not a good idea to run down Atlanta with 3 aircraft. We shouldn't have to be saying that. It's very, very basic indeed. So let's keep going. We are going to run straight on down to that carrier. Like I said, we've obliged the Kates. Brought them over here for a reason, and that reason was to sink ships. So we'll see our angle over here is absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. We're going to dive down to striking altitude there. And what we're going to do is we're going to have to run through the light cruiser, unfortunately. Have to run through it. Look at how they're changing their formation there against us. Rather nasty indeed, isn't it? Start slowing down a tad. Let's us slow down on the approach there, and even more there, and that should about do it. What we'll do is we'll break and attack individually in case we lose the lead plane, and scuffle that attack even more. So we're just running the gauntlet here now with this small arms, and we have lost. Maybe we should have gone for the light cruiser. Would have been a bit more, would have been a bit safer. But the carrier is always the juicy prize. We're not going to down this though, even if 2 torpedoes do hit, unfortunately. And there we go. Rather unlucky. Rather unlucky. But like I said, naive. Very, very naive. Is this even going to hit if it drops? Should be okay there. Should be okay there. But it will reinforce the fact that they should bloody well retreat. And the fact that they are retreating is, of course, a win for us anyway. And there we go. Very nice hit onto the nose there. Excellent. Would have been nice if we got all 3, of course. We shall see about that. So, what are our plans with this task force? Can't really let it retreat, can we? No, we really can't let it retreat. But you know what's very close in this area? We have our Taiyo, which is meant to be shadowing supply interceptors with our Congos. And we also have Soryu about. So I think working together in tandem, the Taiyo can launch out the fighters to support. And the Soryu can launch out some attack aircraft to get this carrier and maybe the Atlanta as well. And that really will force them to retreat even harder and stay away from our homeland. So we'll wait around, see if anything really does come of this, but I highly doubt it. And we'll see what happens. Well, not quite the task force we were expecting, but of course you guys will remember that we did send some submarines right outside of Midway to see if the larger fleet carriers were active. We spotted something which was marked as a carrier on the map, but not exactly a fleet carrier. We have another bogout, led by a, what do you call it, Pennsylvania. To apologise, I had Tennessee on my tongue there. So this is a Pennsylvania, and another invasion task force. Okay, not to worry. Have we seen any Pennsylvanias? I don't believe we have. Let's just have a very quick look. Over here, there are only 2, and we have not, so that is excellent. We have sunk all the Colorados and New Mexicos. We've got rid of all of those. We've got one more Tennessee to look forward to as well. If I remind you all, we do have, I believe we have 1 North Carolina, we do indeed, and we have one South Dakota to look forward to as well. Once again, not entirely sure. If someone who really does know, if one of the modders could tell me, that would be very much appreciated to share with everyone when we might expect to see some Iowas out. So that would be very, very helpful indeed. So thank you in advance. But otherwise, we're going to go back to the map and see what we're doing with our other invasions. Well, we've managed to get to Iwo Jima unimpeded here, which is absolutely amazing. We've come here right at the start of a morning, so it's very likely we might have to get a tad closer here. Let's just drop off our troops to begin with, but we might have to retreat, of course, under enemy fire. Yeah, we do have to get a tad closer there. Let's try and do that. There we go. Let's unload them. Excellent. How are we looking then? Balance of power could be better, but we certainly have the supplies to support ourselves there, which is absolutely brilliant. So let's retreat out of there. I think that would be very nice indeed. Like I said, I don't mind bombarding that either. And if we do need to get some supplies out, it depends really. We do have our minor resupply here, which can carry a few supplies and troops, but not the greatest, of course. What do we have over here? Supply and Deceptors 2 is the one I'm looking for. So we are going to go in and bombard that. That does now reduce enemy troop and supply count a tad, which is excellent. The bad news is we've lost sight of the retreating task force here. But even worse news is we've not managed to respot the invading task force in these islands here. Which makes me think, well, not a lot of things do make me think, but makes me think they're going for the Philippines here, because they've had a lot of time to get to the triangle here, the golden triangle of Peleliu, Truk and Guam, Saipan. So we'll see. We do have Fighting Force 2 outside of Peleliu. We do of course have the CVs over here, which are able to cover Truk and these three bases in this more easterly direction over here. So we're going to spread our ships out of tab more. We do of course have a couple subs over here which are patrolling around anyway. We really should have been able to spot that if they were going into our territory here. So we'll have to watch out for that. I think we'll try and find one more engagement, or even see how Iwo Jima goes. But retaking the homeland, finally. We've let it slide for too long, but I think the kick up the arse was indeed needed there. So let's keep going. So we are absolutely in range to bombard over here. Let's just double check the balance of power once again, roughly halfway. We have lost a few supplies and troops already. Let's bombard the enemy, see what happens there. Where are we? Sure, bombardment. Let's get going. That has of course reduced the enemy base to 0, and the balance of power has shifted a tad. I think that suggests that we will need to reinforce our troops a little more, certainly the supplies, but I think we'll be absolutely fine there to carry on. So what we will do is carry on patrolling around, keep our supply and deceptors fairly close here, and see what happens about that. We have just sighted, however, another enemy task force over here, so we're going to send once again some more single Mavis with 0 armament just to scout this out, and we'll quickly snap on over to that, I think. Well, it's like the AI can actually read our minds and hear what we've been saying, because we finally have another battleship house, and that is absolutely brilliant. North Carolina is something that we'd like to see. Escorted by a Perth and a few destroyers by the looks of things, so and a county. So yeah, this is a somewhat dangerous task force here, of course. So we'll need to mark that up. Absolutely need to mark that up. That is a very nice little find indeed. I was wondering where the US battleships were, and there is one. So we'll keep an eye on that. That is in our radar coverage at the moment. We'll send the Mavis back. It's deciding what it wants to do. But I think we can again take a surface engagement with that if we fancy it, but it's not the most pressing attack at the moment, so we can keep an eye and see what happens over there. Do of course still have Fighting Force 2 which we can bring over to have a look at that, and that might not be a bad idea at all either. Wondering what to fill up with the gap over here. I do like the idea of more destroyers, but I think a light cruiser again might be a decent idea. No need to have more than 3 heavy cruisers there, is there? So, that being said, I'm wondering what else to do really. Don't want to be overly active, to be honest, to stretch us even more, but might want to scout down to Singapore again with Invasion Force 2 and bombard that now we have the Fuso in range. So we'll try that, get that going, but we'll see. I think one more little thing to bide us over for this video indeed. So we should just be waiting now for resupplying and helping ourselves out on Iwo Jima there. Well, it's been a very quiet couple days. We have noticed a few ships patrolling around the Philippines, but nothing really worth reporting, unfortunately. We've not seen any more of those invasion task forces, so they've sort of gone into the mists a bit, into the shadows. It's absolutely fine. We will find those eventually. And that North Carolina task force has disappeared as well. Did try chasing it down with our Yamato, of course, but not to worry. What we're going to do is bombard Singapore. See how we go with that. Still, it's really solid. It's so solid. Let's bombard it again, and that is going to reduce some airfield level there, which is very nice indeed. This is just to soften it up for the future, of course. We will eventually have to take Singapore, so let's get it now while this task force is otherwise idle, is what I'm thinking. That will run us out of ammunition once again, but we have made a little bit of progress. You can see with how solid that defense is over there. The earlier bombardments are certainly needed. So, how are we looking? Iwo Jima, we're getting there. We're not burning down as many supplies as I had imagined. That should be absolutely fine to take Iwo Jima back. So we'll want to drop some more reinforcements and such on there to increase the airfield level as well, to give it some sort of defence in case we do miss an opportunity later on. But we have also taken Cebu under our control. What do we actually get from there? Emily's, Mavis's and Judy's. That's really not a bad bunch, actually. These float planes not so bad, or the seaplanes not so worrying, but the Emily's actually really not a bad option for float planes at all. But the extra engineering and fuel each week is now a very nice boon indeed. Just need to get rid of the last few defenders on there. But that shouldn't be a problem at all either. We are somewhat undersupplied for our troops, but it's not really a pressing matter at the moment either. I think the next order of business around here is to shore up our defences on the Philippines, get a lot of supplies going around there. And do we want to look at Manila next, or do we want to actually go for Tawi next? Or where was it around here? We've got a level 3 airfield. Does something have close to level 3 ports? I think I was thinking of Tawi for that. Brunei over here would actually be very nice as well with a level 3 airfield. We'd upgrade that once. Everything down here is looking very juicy the harder we look at it. But unfortunately, guys, that is going to have to be it for today. Not a lot else going on, unfortunately, so don't want to drag out too much. And we did get our goals done for today to reinforce, or at least defend Okinawa, and we did take Cebu as well. So I think a very nice little video there indeed. We got our goals done. So we're looking very nice indeed once again. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. Please do leave your feedback as ever in the comments section below. It's always very nice and handy to read those through. But so I shall see you in the future. I hope all of your nights and days are auspicious. Goodbye.